Are we live? I think we're live. Welcome, everybody. I'm Professor Matthews. Learning about movies, live stream. This is April 2022. It's going to be spring in where I live. I don't know about you, but we're going to look at the movies that are coming out this month, movies that are leaving Criterion Channel, and all kinds of great recommendations. I have many things to say and tell you. And as always, follow me, if you would, on Letterboxd. I'll check you out and follow you back. I enjoy reading and looking at my viewers' own reviews, so check out Letterboxd. I have lots of lists, I have write-ups, and so on. Also, you can follow me on Twitter. Oh, that's my own Twitter page. Follow me on Twitter. I am Dr. Josh Matthews, and I've been doing threads. I've done 3 or 4 threads in the last week or so. I did one on Wally, did one on The Breakfast Club, and I'm not getting to show you what exactly they are here, but you can check them out. I'm linking to them in my Letterboxd account as well. So welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining, and this is going to be a lot of fun. So here, let me check this out and make sure this is working. Hello, everybody. Good to see you. Feel free to ask questions in the chat, and I will get to them eventually. First thing I want to point out. Now, let's see if you can see this. Sorry about the glare. So, I watched this movie. I had seen it before, but I really watched it intently, The Lighthouse. And so what I'm thinking to do, now I'm trying to get your opinions on this. I think I'd like to do a what makes this movie great video on this movie. But I don't want to do something that everyone else has done, a polished look into, deep dive at symbols and so on. I think what I'd rather do is this, a live stream where I interact with people in the chat room, can somehow teach about this movie. I'd have to think about how to do it, but I think I want to do a live stream version of this, like 45 minutes, deep dive. And whether you like the movie or not, it wouldn't matter. Because you'd see, how a movie viewer or reviewer might analyze a movie. So anyway, I wonder how that strikes you all. But I say this also because director Robert Eggers, who a lot of you like, he made The Witch, The Lighthouse. Of course, he's going to make another movie, and so I wanted to show you this. See if we can get back into it here. His movie The Northman is coming out this month. I don't know, have you guys seen this? Not that you've seen the movie, but have you seen this movie being advertised? I have. And it claims that it's only going to be out on April 22nd, at least in the United States. Well, that guy looks angry. He looks like the lead singer from Metallica. Okay, so Robert Eggers is The Northman film. And what I saw was it's only in theaters April 22nd. Is that right? Anyway, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if I'll be able to get to it, a one-day event. I don't know why they're only doing one day. And so I could be wrong about that, but that's how it was advertised to me on Twitter. And so I wondered if you'd seen that. I also had noticed that this Nicolas Cage film, or Nicolas Cage as Nicolas Cage, whether this is good or not, I don't know, but he's playing himself in this movie, is the same thing. It's only going to be out for one day, or at least that's how it was advertised to me. April 22nd, one day only. Yeah. It says starting. Exclusively starting April 22nd. Maybe I'm wrong about this. It just said one day only, and maybe the advertisements were misleading. But we'll check those out. Those are both coming out in theaters. I don't know. What do you think about this April release schedule? Because I'm looking at, here's another Morbius. I didn't see that. Here's a Michael Bay movie, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And Hollywood is cranking these movies out, which I don't have the time to go to, although maybe I should. Another, is that a Harry Potter movie? And I'm wondering what you guys are interested in, because the one that really stuck out to me was The Northman. I'm not sure about Bad Guys. I probably would see that as an animated movie, because I still have children at home. And The Duke looked interesting to me, although I don't know anything about it. And by the way, the way I select movies is I don't ever watch trailers. I don't ever read anything about any of these movies. I just look at their premise, who's in them, who made them, and that's it. And then I kind of pick and choose which ones I see, that has given me the best chance of success for watching good new movies. Because to sift through these new releases, it would be a chore for sure. Probably most of them are decent to not great. But those are the new releases for this month. So there you go. And I'm curious what you think about The Northman, because it is getting some press. I think it just debuted pretty recently. Anyway, what do? We look at Criterion Channel because, one, I think it's the best streaming service. I am not paid by them. They don't pay me to do this. I think it's the best streaming service. It has a wide diversity of films from all over the world, all time periods, for all tastes. And so I always look at to narrow down the choices that I have to watch movies. And I'm a connoisseur, and I want to see more movies that I've never seen before, and here they are. This is amazing. Here are my recommendations for you for April. What's leaving April? Even if you don't have Criterion Channel, that's just fine, of course. You can just find these movies on your own because they are available elsewhere. Now, there's a few I should mention, and if you're only going to watch two, I'll give you the two to watch if you've never seen them. The one movie I really like is Lives of Others. It's a East German film set in East Germany in the 1980s. It's actually set in winter 1984. That's the first words of the movie, which give you the flavor that this is George Orwell's novel, most famous novel, English-speaking novel from the last 70 years, 1984. It's about the spying of the state on ordinary citizens in Germany, particularly the spying of the state on artists. It's a really interesting movie about artists in the state. And I already did a video on this movie, which is coming out next week. In 5 days, I guess. It would be next Tuesday. Well, I should say the date. I believe it's April 12th was when my video on Lives of Others comes out. So if you want to prep for that, or if you want to sync up with that's great. I really love this movie. It's one of those really profound movies I think everybody in the world should see in order to understand what it's like to live in a state of paranoia, where the state watches you and so on. It's really well done. I really like the ending of the movie, too. So I highly recommend The Lives of Others if you've never, ever, ever seen it. Especially those of you who are young and want to see what life was like in East Germany. It's really interesting, and people from East Germany are still alive. You can go talk to them about what it was like to live there. The other movie I recommend, I think some of you have seen this, it's been around, is A Separation. This is quite a good, strong movie on divorce from Iranian director Asghar Farhadi, who just put out a movie recently, A Hero, on Amazon, A Hero, which I really liked. This is probably his most well-known movie, most acclaimed. I think it won awards when it came out. And even though it's particularly Iranian, and that's important to the movie, really interesting to see glimpses of Iranian culture. As a movie on divorce, it is also, I think, universal. And as it's doing both, which movies have all art has a very hard time doing, the double dance of being very particular to its place and time, but being universal and speaking to people all across times and places in the world. And so I think this is a very, very strong movie. I have used it in the class. I have analyzed it, picked it apart. It's so well done. So those are my two recommendations. Now, you probably have seen, when I went through this, Martin Scorsese's Age of Innocence. I don't know if you've seen this one. It's a strange and interesting movie from Scorsese. It's a period piece. It's a romance. It's different from probably your image of Scorsese. Now, I'm not in love with this movie. I watched it. I like Edith Wharton, who's the novelist who wrote the novel Age of Innocence in the very early 20th century American. I think she's a New Yorker. I like her a lot. I don't know that Scorsese did that well in adapting it. I'd rather read the book. But you may be interested in this movie. It does have Daniel Day-Lewis and Michelle Pfeiffer, Winona Ryder, in it. So a Scorsese movie from the early 1990s. I'd be interested in your opinion, but I do have a write-up, kind of an ad hoc review on Letterboxd about this, and you can see what I thought. But take that for a grain of salt. Opinions and reviews are just for fun. And then the other one, now, if you go to my Letterboxd account and you see my write-up on this, you may end up hating me, which is perfectly fine. It's just an opinion, but a lot of people obviously love David Lynch's Mulholland Drive as a noir, as a coming to Hollywood story. And I really do need to rewatch it. Maybe I didn't appreciate it the first time. I had a particular view of it that I thought, maybe I miswatched it, or the wrong framework for it, the wrong viewing framework. But a lot of people love this movie. They're entranced by it. And so I'm not going to dismiss it just because I didn't like it. I would say go check it out if this kind of thing appeals to you. And these are 4 movies for you. I mean, the rest of these look interesting to me. I have seen some of them. And the ones I will watch are, well, Criterion has been promoting Douglas Sirk. I think a number of you have watched him. I have not. I have not heard of him until pretty recently, within the last few years, as a 1950s American director. His movies, when I was a kid, no, I don't know that anybody knew about them. I don't remember hearing about them. But now Criterion has made a couple of Blu-rays and special discs release of Douglas Sirk. His movies are on the channel, but they're leaving. So maybe it's time to do a viewing of them. There's 3, 1, 2, 3. Maybe it's time to try them. Although I'm assuming they'll be back on the channel. There's a 4th one right there. Another one of my favorite working directors, modern directors, is Alexander Payne. This is his first movie, Citizen Ruth. I almost said Citizen Kane, and surely it is a play on Citizen Kane, so you can check that out as well. There's a lot of movies. Melvin Van Peebles, there's Harry Belafonte, movies that star him. And you go down the list and you go, okay, this is overwhelming. I can't get to all of these this month. That's why I think Criterion Channel alone is enough to suffice for movie viewers in a wide diversity. I was curious about this movie, though. Now, I'm going to look at the chat in a few minutes, but has anyone seen this? The Square. The winner of the Palme d'Or, I'm probably mispronouncing it, in 2017. It looked interesting to me. I had not heard of this, and I've never seen it, obviously. Art World Satire. So is this any good? Now, I got on IMDb, and a number of viewers were complaining that it's too long. Which IMDb, that is a typical... For ordinary viewers, a typical complaint, and maybe it is too long, or maybe it is really interesting in its length. I would be curious, because I do tend to like the Palme d'Or winners, or at least half of them usually. It's usually a pretty good award, or has been. Maybe recently it hasn't, but the tastes are different, and more high quality than the Oscar Best Picture, let's put it that way. So I'm curious about The Square. One more movie of note to you. Those of you who like Frank Capra know Frank Capra. It's a Wonderful Life. Mr. Deeds Goes to Town. It Happened One Night. He made a movie, and here it is, Lost Horizon. I think a number of viewers have actually said something about this on my channel in the comments at some point, which is why I'm bringing it up. It's a strange movie because it's about utopia. It's a little like Candide, Voltaire's Candide, in that Americans or Westerners, they fly, and I think their plane crashes, and it's somewhere in China, if I remember correctly, and the mountains in China, rural, remote location, and they encounter utopia. And so this movie is one of the rare movies that depicts a utopia, a good an honorable utopia. I just watched WALL-E, and the spaceship in WALL-E where the humans are, and they're all on chairs floating and looking at screens. It's sort of a pseudo-utopia. It looks nice, it's high-tech, but of course it's disgusting in a lot of ways. This movie, I think, has a real utopia in it, and that's always interesting to see how a director or an artist in a time and a place say, or, they depict what the perfect world is. So this is of interest to you. I didn't love it as a Frank Capra movie, but it is of historical interest at least. It may interest some of you. So I went down this list. It's really, really interesting. So many things to watch. I never get to them all. There's a Philip Noyce movie, and so on. Anyway, great stuff here. I was going to show you also newly added movies. Actually, I wanted to show... Let's go into this if I can. They're collections, not Young Mr. Well, Young Mr. Ford is interesting. This is John Ford's early movies. That may be of interest to you too, but I wanted to show Ethan Hawke has a collection here, which I found really, really curious. it's not typical great movie stuff, or movies you have heard of that are called great movies. And Ethan Hawke, longtime actor, of course. Charlie Chaplin, Limelight. But then you get down to Cassavetes' Faces, which, if you haven't heard of those, you should go look them up. But then it gets into Westerns. And I hadn't seen the Robert Altman Western, Buffalo Bill and the Indians. Have any of you seen this? With Paul Newman. I don't know why, but Ethan Hawke is recommending it. And also the John Huston Western, again with Paul Newman. I think it's a Western, The Life and Times of Judge Roy Bean. So I'm trying to watch all of the Westerns that I can find, and I will probably watch these two. I have not seen this one either. It's a 30-minute movie that I've heard Ethan Hawke really likes. Anyway, so I'm curious about this. I think it says that Paul Schrader... I don't know what it says say about Paul Schrader there. Anyway, tell me what you think about those movies if you've seen them. It's an interesting collection. I don't know if these are any good, but it's worth trying out and checking out, right? So those are my recommendations for this month. I mean, it's a full, rich month. It could feed you for a long, long time if you have a movie-going, a consumptive movie-going diet. So let me go into the chat. I'm interested in what you're saying now, and I'll answer some questions. I'm so curious about the Robert Eggers experiment idea. I'm interested in a live video. What makes this movie great? People say, like one question about Eggers. And I just watched these two movies almost back to back, The Witch and The Lighthouse. And I've seen a number of people say they liked The Witch better. I preferred The Lighthouse, and pretty strongly for a lot of reasons, which I'd have to get into in a video on it. I thought it was better done and made more sense, and it was more complex than The Witch. Now, that could be because I'm biased. I know a lot. I mean, my subject matter as a doctoral student was early American literature. So the setting, the place and time, the surroundings, the context of The Witch, I kind of know differently, maybe better than most viewers. And it was fine. It was Hawthornian. It was Arthur Miller-like, but it was maybe too stereotypical of the time and place. I thought The Lighthouse was really good, so I will rewatch it probably several times. So people like The Witch better. We'll see. What I'm curious about with the new Eggers, the Northman movie, is what he'll do with dialogue, what he'll do with the script, the language in the script. He obviously had two settings that were English speakers, The Lighthouse and The Witch, where he was trying, more so than almost anybody else ever, perhaps, to get the language correct and precise to the time, to not cater to viewers who obviously speak and know 21st century English. And it almost makes you, those two movies, turn on the subtitles. Right? I think I did for The Lighthouse, because it was hard to tell sometimes what they were saying. Once I read the writing, the subtitles, it was really super interesting. I thought it was really well done. I think he's mostly getting the language and the accents, too, of the time period down, or trying to. And so I like that. Will the Northman do that? Well, it can't, because it's set, must be in the 12th century or something like that, because it's about Vikings. So I'm curious as to what he does with language in the Northman. I kind of Sharknado, Katy Perry movie. I wonder. I've never seen those. I would watch Sharknado. I absolutely love terrible movies or horrible cheesy movies. I do love them. I am an avid, well, probably not avid, but close, or was, Mystery Science Theater 3000 fan. And not the new Netflix thing, the old stuff, where you watch terrible movies and they made jokes about them. I thought that was hilarious and fun, and it taught me a ton about movie watching. So I would do that with Sharknado, gladly. Benedetta? What is Benedetta? Am I saying that correctly? Let me look that up. There are so many movies coming out. It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, unbelievable. Oh, Paul Verhoeven. Oh my gosh, really? A novice nun in the 17th century joins an Italian convent and has a lesbian love affair with another nun. Really? Okay. It doesn't interest me, although I am interested in the Renaissance Italy stuff. So, what am I supposed to do here? Lesbian nuns. This is what can you do with that topic? Other than say they're persecuted. I'm not really sure. Now, it could be great, but we'll see. Yeah, I don't know when this is coming out because it says 2021. Benedetta. When is it coming out? I don't know. Where I'm at in the world, I won't see it till it's on streaming. Oh, I know. I'm supposed to say something about Bruce Willis. Ah, yes. I was requested to talk about Bruce Willis. I did tweet about this. Oh, Bruce. Oh, I'm going to do this. I've totally spaced on it. I should have done it up front in this video. Let us look at Bruce Willis very quickly. The filmography, because Bruce Willis was an important, for good or for ill, an important person in my life in the movies. For a lot of reasons. Here we go. Notice the resemblance. Bruce, where is he at? Bruce over here. No kidding. Bruce Willis standardized bald haircuts for men. I mean, he was one of them. Michael Jordan was probably the other. Back when I was a kid, now I could be getting this wrong, but I think I'm right. Bald, like all bald for men, in the United States at least, it wasn't a good thing. It was associated either with you're a Hare Krishna or you're some kind of punk. And punks weren't good, punk rockers, or you were on the outskirts of society. You were a rebel, like a total rebel, for a bald head, or you had cancer. Right? There were only a few options for bald head. Like usually the bald headed guys, they just went with their hair loss and they didn't shave off the sides or whatever, and that was typical baldness. But I think at some point, maybe it was the early '90s, Bruce Willis went completely bald. He has a great bald head; it looked great, and so God bless Bruce Willis for allowing me to do what I did here, because I can't do anything else but this, other than wear a hat, and I don't care. It's great. Now Bruce Willis was an action star, actually an important movie star, because he was a box office hit, if you knew it or not back in the day. Now what happened? He's retiring, and apparently he's made a lot of B movies or terrible movies. They're horribly rated on IMDb in the last 5, 6, or even 10 years. And he's got aphasia, which is some kind of, degenerative brain disorder. I don't know if it's related to Alzheimer's or dementia, but that's what I assume. And he can't say his lines, or he can't memorize the script, and he's having trouble on the set, or has been, so he's retiring, or has been forced to retire because of this. Which is sad, because the guy's only 60-something years, 65, something like that years old. And I wish him the best, really. I hope the best for he and his family, but I'm really sorry he has to quit. Because he made a lot of memorable movies, but I went through his movie catalog, I was trying to remember, okay, what are his best movies? What's the best Bruce Willis movie? And I was a little disappointed, because I thought he had done better movies. Or my memory, which is just of him in movies as a kid, is probably skewed. Also, he's known for being a Republican, one of the rare Republicans in Hollywood. Right, and somehow surviving as one. So I'm going through it. Here are his movies on the left side of the screen, and obviously he's known for Die Hard, sort of a Western, towering inferno movie, still really popular. A Christmas movie, still watched at Christmas. I went through it pretty recently, and I thought it's pretty good or okay. It's fun for what it is. I wasn't blown away by it with the knowledge that I have now. But I think it's watchable still. It's weird and interesting. I did a video on this. I did a video on character types in Die Hard, because I was trying to teach how to read or recognize character types in Die Hard and how they're used in a movie to make political and socio-political meanings. So you can check that out. I forget the name of it, but I think it's Character Types in Die Hard. if you want to take a look at my Die Hard video. I watched Die Hard 2. I thought it was pretty bad. Actually, I thought it was great as a kid, but then I thought it was bad as an adult. So I don't know which version of me is right. But then I went through this and I went, man, he made a lot of movies, a lot of bombs. The adaptation of the Tom Wolfe novel, Bonfire of the Vanities, Hudson Hawk, Billy, these were bombs back in the day, although he made a lot of movies. I mean, 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 a year. Look Who's Talking was a very popular movie back in the day. It had two babies, or a baby was a voiceover in it. I think that movie is all but forgotten. I wonder how it watches. But is Pulp Fiction Bruce Willis's best movie? Of course, he's only in it for a third of it. Those of you who want to know my opinion of Pulp Fiction, I don't have a coherent one. I think the gold watch sequence in which Bruce Willis stars in the Pulp Fiction is very, very well done. It's kind of disgusting, but it's very well done. North was a total bomb. Ebert hated that movie, if I remember correctly. I rewatched Die Hard with a Vengeance. That is just a weird movie with its depiction of race. You should watch that for the old-timey, almost 30-year-old depiction of race. It's a fun action movie. It's ridiculous. This is Die Hard 3. So maybe 12 Monkeys is his best movie. The Terry Gilliam movie, I don't think I've done a video on it, but I should. I really like this movie, although I can understand how it would annoy a lot of people. Remake of La Jetée. Is that how you say it? But it has flavors of Vertigo, Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo, among other things. And then when I went through his filmography, I went, okay, he's a science fiction. He's key to science fiction because Fifth Element, for example. Armageddon, which is a terrible movie, arguably the worst movie in the Criterion Collection. And yeah, it is in a Criterion Collection. Go check that out. Or it was. I don't know that they promote it anymore. But it wasn't. And then you read Roger Ebert's takedown of Armageddon. It is so hilarious. I have fond memories of reading his review out loud to my wife. We just cracked up to no end. And The Sixth Sense, a very famous movie. M. Night Shyamalan's first movie with a surprise twist that once you've seen it, seeing the movie again doesn't make any sense. It's okay. I actually like The Kid. My wife and I like The Kid. It's decent. Okay, it's watchable. I suggest that's a family movie, sort of. Right? And then Unbreakable. There's another science fiction movie, superhero origin story. Bruce Willis stars in that. So, Tears of the Sun. He did some army action movies, etc., etc., etc. So what's his best movie? He was in a lot of movies. The quality of them, not the highest of the high, let's put it that way. And once you get to 2007, he's making, okay action movies at best. Sadly, but it's true. He's not he did what he wanted to do. So when I saw Bruce Willis retired and reviewed his filmography, I was a little disappointed. Surrogates, I have to rewatch this. This is a science fiction movie. It's interesting. I forget if it's better than, or it's underrated. That's the one I might rewatch. Oh, Moonrise Kingdom. Forgot about that. And Looper. I don't like Looper that much, but some of you do, which is perfectly fine and great. It's obviously a Rian Johnson science fiction time travel movie. So this isn't too bad here. Moonrise Kingdom. But there you go. Sin City was up there, by the way. I haven't seen Sin City in a long time. And then, of course, all this other stuff, which it's amazing what he did in the last few years. It's just absolutely terrible. Look at that direct-to-video. And I think it's this period of time where he's having his aphasia. It must be. So I'm wondering what you all think of this because, in a sense, Bruce Willis was important, but in retrospect, he may be forgotten, which is sad but true, because he's not in movies that maybe people will continue to watch, other than Die Hard. I think. What Bruce Willis movies do people watch? All right, that's my Bruce Willis tribute of a sort. I'm getting a question. Have you done any videos on Alexander Payne? The answer is yes. I have an early video on Nebraska, which is a movie I absolutely love. Absolutely love Nebraska. Wonderful movie. I've seen it many times. Every time it is perfect. It is so well done. It's about poignant issues. I highly recommend Nebraska. Now, the video I did on that, I did it early in my channel, so the quality is pretty low in my opinion. I should redo that. What else did I do? I should do an About Schmidt video. I'm thinking I did another one, but I can't remember. But I love Payne. I should do one on the wine movie, a wine tasting movie, Sideways. Yeah, it's probably time for me to go do a deep dive. If Alexander Payne or his people are watching this, I want to interview you. I've tried to contact his agent actually. It's not. I got ghosted. One day though, because I have many questions for him. I think he's an excellent artist, excellent writer. So Alexander Payne, God bless you. Keep working. The Square. Okay, this movie I brought up. The Square is an interesting view on modern society. Okay. It gets me interested in the movie, to say that. So I will check that out. Oh, United Arab Emirates. Welcome. The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance is a great Western. Yeah, was that on there? Was that on Criterion Channel? I didn't see it there. Yeah, I should check that out. Yeah. Oh, this is a good question. Poison Ivy asks. Oh, this is a good one. Now I'm going to ask you guys, what is your favorite courtroom drama? Favorite courtroom drama? And Poison Ivy says, what did you think of Breaker Morant? One of my faves. Oh, Poison Ivy, have you not seen my video on Breaker Morant? Even better, watch or read the comments. That video that I did on Breaker Morant has a killer comment section. Now, it may have devolved or degenerated because I don't pay attention to comments past the first level. I'm only saying the first level comments that I've gotten on Breaker Morant are amazing. All kinds of historical information, all kinds of interesting opinions from people who are of different stripes, different backgrounds. And it's really interesting to read that. So Breaker Morant, I think Breaker Morant is a little over the top, a little too melodramatic for my taste, but it's quite good. Also did one on Paths of Glory, Kubrick's movie. Not quite a courtroom drama movie, but I'm trying to think. Courtroom drama movies, you tend only to have one act of a movie, one act of a 3-act movie in a courtroom. It's just the case in a lot of movies. Not all, some movies, courtroom dramas, that's the whole movie, but most of the time, the courtroom scene is in the end of the movie or in the middle, something like that. So I'm thinking of JFK by Oliver Stone, which ends in a courtroom. And a number of other movies do, obviously. 12 Angry Men comes to mind, of course. It's this famous staple courtroom drama. Gosh, that's a good question because I probably don't know offhand enough movies, or I'm not thinking of them to have a strong opinion. But it's a really good question, and it's also a question that gets us to what is your taste in movies? How realistic do they need to be? Because so many movies that have courtroom drama scenes or are courtroom dramas are just completely not reality at all, or it would almost never happen in real life. They're over dramatic for real life. So if you're fine with courtroom dramas having nothing to do with real life courtrooms, great. But a lot of if you're a lawyer or a judge or you've been in a courtroom, it may bother you that a lot of these courtroom drama movies are too melodramatic or too over the top. I'm looking at lists here. Oh, In the Name of the Father. Yeah. I haven't seen that in a long time. That stars Daniel Day-Lewis. It's by Jim Sheridan. You might check that one out. Because I think that's quite good if I remember correctly. And a lot of people like Anatomy of a Murder, which has Jimmy Stewart as kind of a nasty lawyer and George C. Scott as another nasty lawyer. I think I'm remembering that movie correctly, but Anatomy of a Murder, I've had a number of people say to me, that's quite a good movie, and I see it on this list as well. Yeah, I'd have to think about that. That's a really killer question. In my youth, A Few Good Men with Tom Cruise, which has a famous line spoken in it, a couple lines from Jack Nicholson. I don't know that that movie still holds up, but A Few Good Men. And my dad always loved My Cousin Vinny. Occasionally, there are some probably good courtroom drama or courtroom comedies, as it were, but I'd have to think about those too. So yeah, good question. That's a good video idea. Now that I'm pondering this. Yeah. Moonrise Kingdom was awful, unwatchable. Yeah, I think a lot of people on this channel do not like Wes Anderson. And he's sometimes too cute for me. Sometimes too cutesy, quirky. Yo, okay, we have a commenter here that says, I learned so much from the comments. No, I wonder what you mean here. I learned so much from the comments of your videos. Do you mean comments on my videos that other people leave? Or my comments? Because I don't care what you mean. But I do think there are a few videos on this channel that are amazing. They have amazing comment section. Another one is the Battle of Algiers. Boy, does the Battle of Algiers get people riled up. And they get mad at me, they get mad at other people, and you can see why that movie would stir up all kinds of people, from communists to Algerians to Europeans. It's really interesting. I'm sure that comment section has devolved and degenerated too into name calling, but the first level comments on Battle of Algiers, that's another one I remember. Yeah. Lucky number 11 or 7 with Ben Kingsley. Is that a Bruce Willis movie? Yeah. Unbreakable is my favorite Bruce Willis movie. It's a pretty good movie. The gimmick in it's obvious once you notice it's a comic book, or it's filmed as a comic book with a lot of panes, comic book frames and panes in it. And it's a superhero origin story. It's a really curious movie because it pits white versus black, and who knows if people are getting mad at not me, but people get mad at the racial themes in the movie. I don't know. But Unbreakable is worth checking out because it came out before all the superhero stuff that you've seen, Marvel in particular, like 6-7 years before Iron Man. When the superhero movies at this point in time were nascent or were developing. So I think Unbreakable is a strong reaction to the sort of comic book ridiculousness of the late Batman movies from the 1990s, for example. And it's serious and it's dark. But I haven't seen it in a while, so I can't comment on whether I really like Unbreakable or not. But it could be one of his best, for sure. Bruce Willis is one of Bruce Willis's best. Oh, The Verdict as a courtroom drama movie. Oh, yeah, The Passion of Joan of Arc. Duh. Yeah, I have a video on The Passion of Joan of Arc. Thank you. That's a great comment. That is a courtroom drama, and there must be a number of them like that. But yeah, that's probably one of the best ones, and one of the early ones as well. You know, a number of movies comment on that. So yeah, this is great. Well, we're deep into this video. This has been a lot of fun. I think just again check out Letterboxd and Twitter. I love these comments here. I'm never going to watch Showa. Oh my gosh. I know of Showa. I probably know enough about the historical background. Do I need to watch it? I'm just going to be disgusted, aren't I? I mean, what am I going to get from it? Quite honestly, I know it's a great acclaimed documentary film about the Holocaust. Showa. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Is it worth sitting through? Because it's 9 hours, isn't it? I know it's one of the most acclaimed movies from that period. Roger Ebert loved it. Didn't Scorsese love it? It's going to bother me so much. I'm already into the dark heart of humanity too much. I think about that way too much. And, jeez. You let me know if I should watch Showa, because I've never seen it. I've ignored it. I think it would bother me. And I already know, I shouldn't say I already know, but I have an understanding somewhat of what's going on in it. So that's a good question. So many movies to watch. No one will ever watch all the movies that could be watched. Yeah, no one ever watched all the movies. So I'm trying, but I'm failing because Criterion Channel is overwhelming in the amount of content they have. You know, split it into 2 watches. Yeah. I should give one more recommendation at the end of this, but I'd say go watch Alexander Payne, and I'll make Joe check him out again because I'm blanking on the videos I've done on Payne's work. I feel like I've done more than one. I even liked Downsizing, and that was not a loved movie at all. I liked it, I didn't love it. I thought it had flaws. I mean, Downsizing with Matt Damon, interesting. But, the Descendants. Yeah, I haven't done videos on any of these Payne movies, so I need to get to it. Oh, it looks like he's making another movie, too. Great, good for him. All right, well, God bless you in April. I'll see you in May. Check out all my stuff. Thank you so much. I'm interested in reading your comments. Take care. Have a safe, happy April. See you all later.